Okay. Uh, Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I can see people joining in. We have 2 more minutes to go to start uh, the actual class. So I am just kind of waiting for others to join in, and then we can start what we have scheduled for today. Okay. It's okay. Coming, people coming. This is today's generation, no? They will only come exactly at 12 o'clock.
Thank you.
Yes. Also das Glas Okay, just a few seconds and then we can start. Okay, 15 seconds to go. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Today's topic is basic French sauces. Basic French sauces. And what we're going to do today is we are going to do sauce Espanol And along with the sauce, to make sauce espagnole, first we will have to start making brown stock. So we'll start by making the brown stock. We will go to the next level and make brown roux. After making brown roux, we will combine them together. We will form sauce espagnole. And after forming sauce espagnole, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to make a concasse, a tomato concasse. So we will also make tomato concasse, and then with the espagnole and the tomato concasse, we will combine it together, add a few more ingredients, and we are going to make chicken chasseur or poulet sauté chasseur. So this is our topic of the day. And what I've done is, just before I started this class, I cut one chicken. This chicken was around 850 odd grams. And what I've done is I have cut it the saute style. I left the breast there on the chicken itself. I only took the legs and thighs. And what I did is, from all the other ancillary parts of the chicken, like the thorax, like the wings, like the knuckles, etc., I separated them. You can see wings here, you can see knuckles here, you can see the neck, some segments of the neck. So what I did is I primarily cut it, washed it nicely, removed all the entrails from inside, and then now it's ready to be converted into a stock. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by adding in some oil into the pan. This is a thick bottomed pan, so I'm going to add a little bit of oil into the thick bottomed pan, and then I'm going to put in these bones, which are washed. It's a very hot pan, which are already washed. And you all know that for making a brown stock, we have to brown the bones. So I am putting it at the maximum temperature, which is for this induction, which is 2000 RPM. So I'm putting this at 2000 RPM, and I'm letting the bones brown. So once the bones are brown, what I'm going to add to it is the mirepoix. The mirepoix, as you all know, is a combination of 3 ingredients. It can be 4 sometimes. So it's carrots, onions, and leeks. So what we do is generally equal parts of carrot and onions and half of the leeks. That is how I have cut the leeks into dices, almost to the similar sizes of the chicken that we did. But of course, we are not going to add it now. We're going to add only after the chicken is brown enough. And I also have a bouquet garni ready. You can see, you all know what is bouquet garni. The bouquet garni is basically a combination of some herbs and spices in certain cases. But I have only used herbs today. There is bay leaf, there are 3 bay leaf here. There is some thyme, there is some parsley, and that is how I have bound it. And I have also added a little bit of celery, 2 stalks of celery. I have added some thyme and parsley, and I have added some bay leaf in here. And this is also ready. At some stage, we are going to add into the stock. And you can see a lineup of tomatoes here in front of me. Now, this is for the concasse. So what I have here is, I have some water which is already boiling. I'm going to increase the temperature a little bit. And you all know, if you look at it, I have already removed the eyes of the tomato. This I am doing for the concasse. So I will be concurrently preparing the brown stock and the concasse. So what I'm going to do is, you all know, we give a cut on top of the tomatoes, and always remember, you don't cut it too much. And it is also very important that whenever you do any blanching, you have very cold water lying next to you. It can be tap water with some ice. It can be ice water. It has been kept in the fridge for some time. It has to be cold water. And because that helps in stopping the cooking of the vegetables or tomatoes or whatever we are blanching. It stops the cooking of those, and otherwise, it would be uncontrolled cooking. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in these tomatoes into this boiling water. I will increase the temperature a little bit, and I'm going to leave it only for a few seconds, maybe 30-35 seconds. And what I have with me is I have some ice water. You can see ice. I have put in some ice water here. I will be immediately taking these tomatoes, putting them into the ice water. I will be skinning the tomatoes, and after I skin the tomatoes, I'm going to cut it almost like you take a juice out of a lemon, and I will cut it. I will strain the juices and the seeds, and I will take the pulp, chop it up, thick chop, because I'm making a concasse, a thick chop, and the pulp. Then I will remove the seeds from the pulp, and the pulp again goes into the sauce. That is actually the good juice from the tomato. Okay, so we have to be a little patient with the brown stock, because I want the bones to brown nicely before we start putting in the mirpoa, etc. into it. It's going to take some time, and obviously it has to be done on vigorous heat. I have increased the temperature here, and I have a frying spoon ready. And I can also use the tongs to remove the tomatoes when they are ready. I just waiting for one boil, and as soon as they are ready, I will remove the tomatoes. Just a little bit of cleaning up. The bones have started browning, and initial, because of the water, initially there is a little bit of fluttering. Uh, Once the bones are brown, I'm going to get it very close. A couple of bones, I'm going to get very close to the camera and show how much brown we want the bones to be. We actually don't want the bones in any way to become black or get overcooked, etc. We just need a certain amount of another 10 seconds for the tomatoes, and it should be fine. And then we are going to remove them. And just to take you further into the making of the brown stock, so what we are going to do is, after we put in the mirpoa, and we will also put in some whole garlic into it. Okay, and we will also put a few herbs which will give that flavor profile. Like, for example, I have some thyme here, I have some rosemary here. I'm going to put a little bit of thyme and rosemary, but later into the stage. I don't want to put it now, because if I put it now, all this is going to burn. And then, instead of giving a good flavor, what is going to happen is it is going to give a burnt flavor to the stock, which is going to be derogatory for the dish. Okay, now I will remove the tomatoes. You can see that the bones have already started browning. Okay, and we just need a little bit more of browning. And one more important thing is, because the chicken that I'm using was chicken with skin, so it's also rendering some fat into the stock. Okay, now let this I'll just reduce it a little bit. Let this keep on cooking, and in the meantime, what I'm going to do is I'm going to uh, start uh, peeling the tomatoes. So I just peel it at this stage and not do anything else. Just a little bit more browning, and then I'm going to add the other ingredients. So you see, because we put the tomato into the boiling water, it is peeling so easily, and there is no loss of pulp from this tomato. So these are almost like, just the skin has gone off, and that's it. You can also say they look like some kind of a berry after you remove the skin. I've already removed the ice. Okay. So while you are removing the skin of the tomatoes, uh, it's very important to see that there is no more skin left, because then it will finally end up in the sauce, because we're not going to strain the sauce at all, so it's going to end up in the sauce. So very important to see that there is no remaining skin on the tomato. Okay, wonderful. And as of now, whatever juice is left on the skin, I'm going to strain it. No wastage. If I had time, I would probably use the tomato skin also today to make some garnish, etc. But since we do not have time for this, so I'll just leave it on the side for the time being. Okay. So my bones have basically brown, and I'm just going to show a couple of these bones to you, so that you understand the amount of browning that is required. Not too much, not too less also. So you can see the amount of browning that is required on the chicken. Okay, so it's brown now. And in goes the mirepoix. The mirepoix goes in, and we stir it. At this stage, I am also going to put in some whole garlic. Whole means I have peeled the garlic, and some cloves of garlic, 4-5 cloves of garlic, I am going to put in. And the mirepoix, as I said earlier, had carrots, and it had leeks, and it had onion. Okay, so the stock is now cooking. In the meantime, what we are going to do is, I'm going to bring in this bag and the tomatoes, and now you have to pay a lot of attention. So you take the tomato and you cut it in the center as if you would cut the lemon for the juice, and you will just scoop it as if you are scooping a lemon. You are squeezing a lemon for the juice. So what I'm trying to do is, I'm trying to remove all the pulp, and I'm also trying to remove all the seeds. So it will be, by the end, it will be seedless and pulpless tomato. I'm going to strain the pulp once again later on, and I'm going to put it back into the tomato. So as of now, I'm removing the pulp and the seeds. But always remember, this pulp is priceless. It is actually the juice of the tomatoes, and you should, in no means, just throw it away, because then you are losing the most of the nutrition of the tomato. And the last one. I want the onions and the leeks and the carrots to caramelize a little bit before I add in the water. You can also add in stock in case you have, but then because we are making a brown stock, so it does not, kind of make sense to. So for the time being, I'm just leaving it here. What I'm going to do at this stage is I'm going to bring in the chicken. So because I am making poulet sauté chashure, so I need chicken. So what I need to do with the chicken just now is just add in some salt. Okay, I'll just add in some pepper, crushed pepper. Okay, and I'll turn it over now. And I will again add salt. And I will add some fresh pepper. Okay, and I will leave it back there for some time. Okay, the onions have started caramelizing. The carrots have started caramelizing because when I was cooking the chicken in the pan, what was happening actually, a lot of the fat and the protein was getting accumulated into the pan. That protein has also come off now with the vegetables leaving some water. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put some water into this. Just enough water because I'll be needing only 2 portions, so I'm putting in just enough water, which suffices, and of course goes on high temperature. And once it comes to a boil, I'm going to add the bouquet garni into it, and then I'll let it cook, let it simmer, and later on, we are going to convert it into, we'll use some wine and we'll convert this into a brown sauce. That is only when we have made the roux. Okay, so we come back to our tomatoes now. So what I'm going to do is take the tomatoes and cut them into chunks. I would say technically big dices, not very small dices, not brunoise, but big dices. Always remember, whenever you're making a stock, you have to remove the scum from the stock, because otherwise the stock will become cloudy. At some stage, I'm going to reduce the temperature here, but before that, I can see that already some scum has started appearing on top. I will remove it and okay, great. So we have the chopped tomato, chopped blanched tomato. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the scum from the sides. Okay. So first removal of scum. And now I'm going to add in the boogie garni into it. I will leave the thread here so that whenever I need to remove it, I will be able to remove, reduce, and let it simmer. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to shift this pan into this one because it's going to cook for some more time. And I'm going to start doing two things here. On one side, I'm going to make the concasse, and on the other side, I'm going to prepare the roux. For the concasse, I needed a pan. And what I'm going to do with this concasse is I'm going to make it like a base sauce, okay, which you can use later on as a and convert it into pizza sauce. You can convert it into pasta sauce. You can serve it as a sauce in itself, for example, in a sauce like a chasseur, or you can also make any other tomato-based sauce out of this with a little bit of permutations and combinations, which of course you all know how to use pasta sauces, etc., etc. Just a little bit more of scum. Good. Okay, so we have this for the concasse. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add some butter, and I'm going to add in some oil, a little bit of oil, a little bit of butter, and so what I have is I have some thyme. This is fresh thyme, and I have some chopped celery. I have some chopped leeks, and I have some chopped garlic, and I have some chopped onions or shallots. I use very small onions, so you can easily call them shallots. Okay, so first the onions go in. Okay, why not garlic? Because garlic has more sugar than onions, and if I put them into very hot oil or butter, they are going to caramelize too much initially. And what we're going to do is we're going to cook the onions first to some time till the time they become transparent. Then I'll add in the garlic, I'll add in the leeks, I'll add in the celery. And now to show you how much of the tomato juice we removed when we removed the seeds. You can see the seeds. Okay, I'm going to discard them, and now I'm going to add this juice. You can see how much juice this would generally get wasted. Okay, I've seen some students actually wasting this and putting it directly into the dustbin, scooping the tomato directly into the dustbin. Okay, so this is a huge amount of okay, so the onions have if you see, the onions have started becoming transparent, a little translucent rather. And what we're going to do now is I'm going to add in the garlic, chopped garlic. I'm going to add in chopped celery. I'm going to add in some chopped leeks, just one tablespoon each, and I'm going to let it cook. At some stage, I'm also going to add some herbs into it, but let the onion and the leeks and the celery cook, and then I will add in the herbs. Okay, so once my concasse cooks, what I'm going to do is I'm also going to start making the roux. Now, as you all know, because we're making espagnole today, which is a brown sauce, we're using some red wine, and we are also going to make a brown roux. You all know that there are different varieties of the roux. There is a white roux in the beginning, then there is a blonde roux, and then there is a brown roux, and then there is what is called the French roux, which is really very brown, and generally used only in the French cooking, or continental roux also it is called. So primarily these are the thickening agents of for all the white and light sauces you have white roux. For all the medium brown sauces, light brown sauces, you have the blonde roux, or veloutes, you use blonde roux for veloutes. And then for the brown sauces, you use brown roux. We're going to make that nutty brown roux today. And there is also one more thickening agent that is used very popularly in French cooking, that is called beurre manière, which is basically mixed butter and flour, but uncooked. Soft butter and flour is mixed together when it is uncooked, and then that is used as a thickening of sauces. So what I've just done, I've added in a couple of bay leaves into this concassé, and at this time I'm going to add a little bit of thyme. I have some. I have some. Chopped parsley, which I'm going to leave for the garnish. So what I'm going to do with the thyme, I'm just going to grate it. I will not chop it, peel it, because I want that flavor. And I'm also going to add in uh, some crushed pepper, but of course not very coarse, just a little crushed pepper. Okay, so onions have lightly started caramelizing, very lightly started caramelizing. At this stage, I'm going to add in the tomatoes. Okay, remember I told you I will be making poulet sauté chasseur. That is why I have kept the tomatoes a little chunky. If you want to make the sauce for the pizza, etc., please feel free to reduce the size of the chunks, and because this is going to be a little chunky in the end. Because this is a basic concassé sauce, I may be using it for a lot of different things later on. Our stock seems to be cooking well. Okay, so while these two are cooking, I'm going to go back to my chicken. Okay, you are all aware of seasoned flour, a flour which can have salt, which can have white pepper, it can have some herbs. So, but what I'm doing today, because I have already marinated the chicken with salt and crushed pepper, I'm not going to use seasoned flour. I'm going to use plain refined flour. So, what I'm going to do with this plain refined flour is, I just wanted to show you that after I cut the chicken, I have made incisions in the center for fast cooking, but I have retained the skin. So what I'm going to do is, I'm going to roll this chicken in the flour. I'm going to roll this chicken into the flour lightly, and on all sides. This helps in two ways. Number one, it will help in getting a very nice golden color on the skin, and also it will also help. It will stop the juices from coming out. So this will remain, although it will be crispy on top, but it's going to remain juicy inside. Right. I'll just wash my hand. Okay, so we have this chicken which has been coated, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this stock to the side so that I can show you how I'm going to sear the chicken. I'm moving the stock on the side, okay, and I will move the concasse here so that it also continuously cooks. Just a little bit reduction of temperature here on the concasse. You can see the concasse cooking. We'll have to wait till the time the tomatoes, soften up and may become a little pulpy. Okay. The pan goes up, oil, a fairly good amount of oil now in the pan. It should coat the base of the pan completely. I'm going to roll it up a little bit so that it also coats half the side, and this goes up just one level less than the maximum temperature on this. So I actually want the pan to be very hot so that when I put this in, and what I have with me today is I have a grill. You can see this is a grill. So what I'm going to do is after I've seared the chicken, I'm going to put the chicken on the grill inside the tray, inside the oven at 180 degrees for 25 minutes after I have seared it. And then of course we are going to cook it in the oven. And then once it's ready, we'll take it out. And of course, by the time our stock and sauce will be ready, and I'm going to, prepare the chicken chasseur. Okay, so when you prepare tomato concasse in large quantities, and you have already chopped large tomatoes, etc., and you want it to be really big quantity, so there is always this way of adding some tomato paste, adding in some ready-made tomato puree, etc., into the concasse. That is understandable, because when you want to increase the quantity of the sauce, and it also increases the bulk, and of course it also enhances the color a little bit. But then you have to understand that most of these purees, etc., which are packed, have got chemicals, and they also have artificial colors most of the time. So the oil seems to be warm. Just a little bit more heat, because I don't want it to be too thin. I want the chicken to be nice, crisp, and colored on top, on both sides. We cook it on one side first, no hurries. Then we will cook it on the other side, and once that is done, we will put it on this grill, and we will push the grill inside the oven for 25 minutes. I have already maintained the oven at 180. It is also a little preheated. I'm going to just kind of preheat it a little bit more before I actually start. Okay, so skin side first. I will do 2 pieces at a time, because this pan is good enough for only cooking 2 pieces at a time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait patiently till the time the chicken gets caramelized on the other side, gets the crust on the other side, and then I'm going to. So what I want to do now is, in the concasse, I'm going to add in some salt, okay, which helps in a little quickly pulping the tomatoes. They will leave a little bit of water, and by that way they will also kind of start becoming softer a little fast. In the beginning, I did not do because otherwise, what would have happened? The water would have all been out, and it would be almost like boiling tomato. So I actually sauteed the tomatoes, and now once I felt that they are more than 50% pulpy, I added in the salt. So it takes a little bit of a more time on an induction to caramelize than it would be on the. Okay, so while the chicken is cooking, the stock is cooking, the concasse is getting ready. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do a little bit more mise en place for the chasseur. You all know chasseur is incomplete without mushrooms. So I have these mushrooms, button mushrooms, which have been washed. I'm going to thickly slice them, just thick slice, not very thin slices. I'm going to thickly slice the mushroom. One main element of our chasseur is getting ready, which is the concasse. Thick slices. Okay, I can see some mice. Yeah. So you can see the color. It's golden brown on one side. I'm turning it on the other side, and I'm going to turn this also on the other side. Reducing the heat a little bit on the other side. And once that is done, I'm going to now put in these two pieces on the other side because some space created because of the shrinking. Okay, so let me continue with my mushrooms. I need around 4 mushrooms for the quantity of chicken that I have. These are fresh button mushrooms. You can authentically, that is what you put. And you all know the little story behind chicken chasseur. Chicken chasseur is called such because it is generally called the hunter's chicken. The hunter's chicken combination is the chicken and the mushrooms. Before the poultry was domesticated, what would happen is these people in Europe, especially in France and around that, they would go to the jungles shooting poultry. Shooting means those days with bows and arrows. And when they would go to the jungle, they would also keep on foraging for mushrooms, edible mushrooms in the jungle. So whenever they came back, they started cooking these chicken and mushrooms together, and that is why it is generally called chicken chasseur, which actually means hunter's chicken. Okay. Obviously, I'm sure that wine was never a part of those kind of chicken, or maybe it was because that is how cuisine developed slowly one by one. Initially, maybe there was no wine. Maybe later on, wine was added. So this is actually actually the story of the hunter's chicken or chasseur. Okay. Okay. So the concasse is very much ready, and I'm going to plate it. But just before that, let me turn the chicken on the other side. Okay, this flour that we added, the flour that we dusted on the chicken has also added to the crispiness, crunchiness, and of course the color of the chicken. And so the mushroom goes in here, and I will get in a plate. Okay, so this is, I'm going to remove the bay leaf from here. this is a basic tomato concasse, nice and bright. Just a little bit of salt I added towards the end. I'm going to switch this off, chicken switch off now. And what I can do is I can add a nice spread of parsley in here, and I will show you just. But before that, I'm going to transfer this chicken onto the grill. Okay, we're not getting rid of this oil. We're using this oil. The oven is nice and hot. Onto the tray, and it goes in for around 25 minutes. The stock is on the way. I'll just show you the concasse, and then I'll go back to the cooking. So, sorry, now you can see it. Now, if you want to blend it, you want to thin it down, you want to put some puree into it, you want to add any other ingredients, depending on what you're making. If you're making a pizza sauce, then it will be a little different. If you're making a sauce for the pasta, then it would have to be toned down a little bit, maybe added some more tomato puree, etc. So that is how it is going to be. We are again going to use this concasse today to make our chasseur. Okay. Right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it here, and we will use it later because it has all the goodness of the chicken. The juices are there, and the oil is also flavored now. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to prepare a brown roux now. Okay. So you all know brown roux is an extension of the white roux and the blonde roux. So you start a roux. I'm going to cross all the stages. I'm going to cross all the stages of the roux. We'll start with the white, and then slowly, steadily, we'll go to the blonde and we'll go to the brown. In tomorrow's session, we are going to cook with white roux. We are going to do a white sauce, a bechamel, and then we're going to convert it into a velouté, and then we are going to convert it into a dish. Okay, so let us start with the brown roux. First, I'll dry the spoon, and on medium heat, and the butter goes in. I'm going to put around, this is around 60 grams of butter. I'll add a little bit of water into the stock because I put it on fairly high heat, so I'm just rehydrating it a little bit more. Okay, so butter, and you all know about this, and flour, Okay, so you all know that you have to be very patient with the roux. It takes some time, and also along with being patient, you have to be very very cautious because it can really change colors without in a blink of an eye. So you have to first have a complete control on the heat, and then you also have to have complete control on stirring it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to so that the roux cooks uniformly. I'm going to use a whisk to cook the roux. Okay, so that it keeps on breaking in the meantime, and also keeps on cooking uniformly all through. So what's going to happen is after some time, the roux is going to start taking out, is going to start leaving butter. And once the flour starts leaving butter, that means the first indication of that the roux is started cooking. At that stage, the roux is white roux. Okay, so it is white roux. It is started leaving oil or fat or butter, and then it is already cooked. So after some time, what's going to happen is if it comes to that stage, it's slowly, steadily going to leave that oil, and the flour, the starch is going to go on the other side. That means your white roux has cooked. But if you continue cooking it after that, what's going to happen is it's slowly going to go into an almond kind of a color, light nutty brown color, and which is basically the blonde roux, very light brown color, and that is what is the blonde roux. That is the roux which we are going to use tomorrow because we're going to do a velouté tomorrow. Okay. We're going to do a bechamel separately, and we are also going to do a velouté separately. Okay, and then of course we're going to create a dish out of the combination of the bechamel and the white stock. We'll make a velouté out of that. Okay, just a little bit of increase of temperature because now you can see, it's already started leaving. You can see all those bubbles already started leaving the oil. Now I am heading towards the next stage of the roux, which is the blonde stage of the roux. Okay. In the meantime, I'm going to remove the bouquet garni from the stock. And while I have all my attention on the roux, what I'm going to do is I'm going to separately make strain the stock a little while later. Okay, this is the stage of the blonde roux. This is the stage of the blonde roux. Okay, and now the next one is going to be brown. I'm going to reduce the temperature fairly low because I don't want it to go out of the control. I'll get a bowl where I'm going to put this in. Just a little cautious increase in the temperature. So you can see it is in the second stage now. It's already left all the oil and it's crumbly, it's cooking. And now slow caramelization happening. Just a little bit of water into the stock again. So it's now crossed the blonde stage. It has crossed the blonde stage. It's going to the brown stage. Now at this stage, it's very, very important that you are careful as to what is happening to the roux. If you're not careful, it's going to overcook it's going to become over brown, and then it's obviously going to burn. So very important at this stage. And also you need to know when to remove it from the pan, because if you leave it on the pan at this stage, what's going to happen is going to cook, keep on cooking, and it's going to become, instead of brown roux, it's going to become a burnt roux. Okay, so just a few seconds more into the pan, and I'm switching off the stock in the meantime. The chicken is already cooking, and we have this nice flavored oil in here. We will do some miracle with this oil, because we need to finalize, finish with the chasseur. You see, it's already crossed light brown stage, and it's also become very crumbly, because now what's happened, the starch is denaturalizing and it's becoming fairly crumbly now. 10 more seconds and I remove the meat. So it's just one shot about a brown color, and one shot below the chocolate brown color. Okay, done. Switched off, and the roux goes out. I'm going to show you with a close-up from the camera as to how it is looking at this stage. Quite liquidy, because it's left all the fat, and great. So very hot, we'll have to be very careful. And if you look at this is what a brown roux looks about. And if I could show you clearly, you know, there is some cooking still happening on the sides, which is going to slowly, steadily go inside the core, and the core is going to cook and become a little more browner by the time I use it. Right. So now the next stage. The pan comes in back, the roux is ready, and the chicken is already halfway stage cooking. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to start cooking the chasseur sauce. Okay, I'll cook the chasseur sauce, but before that, let me strain the stock. Okay, a brown stock has a general cooking time of more than 8-10 hours, right? But then since we had to finish this class and utilize the stock, okay, I could have used ready-made means earlier made stock, but I did not do that because I wanted to show you from the beginning, so it would be a wonderful revision for you as to how to start a brown stock, and then of course how to utilize it. So what we have done is we have actually passed 2 stages. We have done the stock, we have done the roux. Now we want to basically get it together, and the roux and the stock together, so that it becomes an espagnole. And what we generally do in espagnole is you also add in a little bit of tomato paste. Okay, you can see the stock is nice and brown. Okay, we will have to cook it further till the time, you know, it will just leave it on the side as we keep on go on cooking the mushrooms, and of course the tonkatsu is already there and the chicken is getting ready. So we will first start by cooking the mushrooms and the shallots together. Okay, you remember this is the oil which in which we had sauteed the chicken. Okay, we'll heat it up a little bit, and we will add in the mushrooms. We will add in the shallots. We'll cook them. We'll add in some red wine, and if possible, if you want, you can still at this stage add some bay leaf. You can add some leeks and celery into this, but then that is not the part of a classical recipe, because we already have leeks and celery in the tomato concuss. We are not going to repeat that. Okay, just hot. Always remember, whenever you are cooking mushrooms, put them into fairly hot oil, otherwise they will start boiling. We don't want them to boil. We want them to get sauteed. We want them to color on both sides. Okay, so just a little bit more. I am adding a couple of bay leaves in here. And on one side, I will start cooking the mushrooms, and in the other pan, what I'm going to do is I'm going to finish the espagnole. Of course, a combination of the brown stock and brown sauce, which we are going to use later on in place of a brown stock in the chasseur. Okay, so oil heated, the mushroom goes in. As I told you, very hot oil means you should not be boiling the mushrooms. You should be actually sauteing them, giving them some color. And once the mushrooms are getting some color, I'm going to add in the chopped shallots. Okay, and chopped shallots, I'm going to add a little bit of thyme more here, and I have chopped parsley, some nice chopped parsley, which of course I'm going to add towards the end. So I chopped the parsley before I started the class, fine chopped it, I put it into a duster, I dried it, and now it's nice and green, and I can hold it for a very long time. It is not going to get spoiled. It's not going to get wet. A little bit more cooking. Then I'm going to add in the shallots. Here I'm going to chop the thyme a little bit, because because we're not going to strain the sauce anymore now. So I do not want them. So we have the shallots, we have the mushrooms, and of course we have that those juices of the chicken which remained in the pan when we seared the chicken. And what I'm going to do is now, once they become a little brown, the onions brown a little bit, I'm going to add in the red wine, and I'm going to prepare another pan where I'm going to do the espagnole. Tomato, just a little bit of butter here in the pan for the espagnole. Okay. In goes the wine. and we will reduce it. Okay, while this is reducing, on the other side, I will show you how we will do the Espanol. Let it reduce for some time. I'll exchange the pans. Just a little bit of garlic, some celery, some leeks, and I'm going to just saute it, a little bit of flavor in the sauce. Otherwise, we all have all these flavors in the stock. And you can see the color of the stock, right? If we just reduce this, it's automatically going to become a glaze. Okay, just reduction. In the end, put in a little bit of butter and okay, so just a little bit of caramelization of the leeks, the celery, and the garlic, and I put in the stock. Right, and one simmer, and once one simmer is done, we'll put in the. See, in the meantime, as I told you, as the roux cooks, it starts leaving oil. So see, it has already started leaving fat. So what we can do is, we can get rid of it because we do not want too much of fat in our sauce. Okay, now this is basically just without. And one more important caution: when the roux are cooking, be it white roux, be it blonde roux, those are almost like volcanoes, live volcanoes. They have so much of latent heat absorbed inside them that if you put in your finger or by chance you splash it, it's going to really take the skin off. So it's very dangerous. You have to be very, very careful when you're making roux. Okay, so what I'm going to do with the stock is I'm going to simmer it for a few seconds. I'm going to see in case there is some froth coming on top, and then I'm going to remove that in case there is some fat globules coming on top, and then I'm going to mix in the roux into this. And in the meantime, on the other side, the mushrooms and the shallots are getting reduced, and my chicken is around 5 minutes away, so we are on time with both these sauces. You see, there is some impurities which have come to top. I'm going to remove them, and it's already kind of the flavor of the wine and the stock combining together, a little bit of acidic taste, and then of course the flavor of the herbs and milpoa that we used earlier is all coming together. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to this stock when it's cooking, I'm going to add in the roux here, and I'm going to add some stock directly into the chicken and cook it there because we've already added flour there in the chasseur. Okay, and I do not want that to become too floury. So I'm going to make I'm going to take out some stock from here. I'm going to make the chasseur separately. After we have added a little bit of roux into this and a little bit of tomato paste, we'll add later. So the Espanol is made separately and the chasseur is made separately. So at this stage, I'm going to add in the roux. So we made around 60 grams. I'm just going to add half of it, not too much. I don't want it to become too floury. I have some fresh tomato puree with me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, which is obviously cooked tomato puree. I'm going to cook that, but I'll put it to a strainer because I don't want to have more chunks of tomatoes in this. Just one more teaspoon of roux in here. It's already started bubbling, so it's almost done. So let me arrange for a bowl for this, where I can. It will look good in a white bowl. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take out one couple of ladles of this soup, of the sauce for my chasseure, because I don't want to put more tomatoes into the chasseure. That is going to actually make it too acidic. We already are putting our concasse into the chasseure. I've just taken out that sauce, and I'm going to add just one ladle or tablespoon of tomato puree into this sauce, and it automatically takes the shape of a espagnole. I don't need to cook this because this is already cooked. Oh. And just a little bit of a simmer more so that it comes to that consistency where we what we need. And in the meantime, I'm going to, of course, look at our chicken now. It's almost there. I don't want to prematurely take it out. And let me switch the pans from here and there, that the espagnole cook. And in the meantime, I'm going to finish this. Now that it is reducing, and I'm going to take out the bay leaf from here. Espagnole is there. It's getting ready. Okay. This is my concasse which we made earlier. I'm going to now add it into the sauce. This becomes the part of the chasseure or the hunter's. And the brown sauce and a little bit of the roux that we added in here. At this stage, we can add in a little bit of liquid into it, a little bit of water, so that it all comes together just a little bit. And while I'm waiting for the chicken is done. You can see. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the chicken and put it directly into the pan. Done, perfectly done. You can see how this is going in. Right, the bowl goes up. Okay, now the only thing that remains to be done is to taste, to kind of taste the seasoning of the sauce, and of course add a dash of nice chopped parsley on top before it comes out of the pan. And on the other side, my espanol is almost getting that consistency. I'm just going to strain it a little bit before I finally serve the espanol, or I can show it to you. I'm just turning the chicken on the other side. Let all the juices, flavors come together. I'm adding half the parsley into the sauce because that is what gives it that fresh herby flavor. I don't want to thicken the sauce too much. A little bit more thickening of the espanol though, because this is a base sauce. It can be thinned down later on. So I just thicken it a little bit more. In the meantime, let me prepare my, and I'll keep it ready. Little bit of a simmer in here. The sauce has started thickening because there was some flour on the chicken also, which is also helping the sauce to thicken. Goes back on the other side. Okay, so espanol ready. No question of seasoning this espanol as of now because it's a base sauce. I don't want to check the seasoning. Okay, you can see it's a classic espanol, a classic brown sauce. Okay, and this has become a part of the chasseur now. Right, we're back to our chasseur. I'll just taste it a little bit now. I'll taste the sauce. It's a good combination of a little bit of acid, the earthiness of the mushrooms, the good taste of the chicken that we had roasted. It also has that smoky taste from the chicken because we seared the chicken earlier. Okay. Right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to portion this chicken out. I'm going to put in these two thighs and I'm going to add in one drumstick. Wonderful combination of mushrooms, tomato, everything coming together, and
Shave the napkin.
okay, right.
Shave the napkin.
And of course, a little bit of fresh parsley will give it a wonderful life. What I'm going to do is just a little bit of slices of mushrooms on top. That is it to become a little photogenic. Because you are all Instagram generation, so the food needs to look beautiful also. Okay, so so this is poulet sauté chasseur, or you can call it chicken chasseur. This is also called hunter's chicken, and I told you the theory philosophy behind the name because this was originally made from people who used to look for mushrooms in the jungles along with hunting poultry, and they would cook the mushrooms and poultry together. So this is poulet sauté chasseur for you. Okay, so that finishes the lesson for today. So what I just kind of repeat what we did today a little bit. We started with making a stock. We understood the components of the stock. We made the stock. On the other hand side, we blanched the tomatoes for the concassé. So we understood how to utilize, how to do maximum utilization of the tomatoes and the pulp, etc., etc. And of course, then we sauteed a little bit of onion, chopped onions, garlic, a little bit of leek celery, and then we put in the pulpy tomatoes into it and the juice into it, and we cooked it with a little bit of herbs. And that was our concassé, basic concassé. And then on the other side, when the stock got ready, we kind of strained the stock and then reduced it further. And then we made a brown roux. I explained to you the stages of the roux, and then we made a brown roux, which is nutty brown in color. And after we made it, we combined the roux and the brown stock together, along with some tomato paste or tomato concassé, and that was sauce espagnole. Of course, we added a little bit of wine, etc., red wine into it. On the other hand side, I sauteed in the same pan as the chicken where I seared the chicken. So a little bit about the chasseur. Initially, we marinated the chicken with salt and crushed pepper, and then we coated it with flour, and we seared it in the pan, and we put in the chicken for 25 minutes at 180 degrees. And after that, we, in the meantime, in the same oil where we had seared the chicken, we added in the mushrooms, we added in the shallots, we tossed them, we added some red wine, and then we added in some brown stock there. We let it cook, seasoned it, added in the concassé, took out the chicken, put in the chicken, simmered the chicken in the gravy for some time, and that was chicken chasseur for you. We garnished it with some chopped parsley, and that was the lesson today. How to start with the stock. Of course, we could only cook the stock for an hour and a half. Normally, the brown stock cooks for a very long time. But then because I seared the bones to a right color, so we got a nice brown stock. So for today, brown stock, brown roux, the tomato concasse, and of course, poulet sauté chasseur. Thank you very much.